A typical security guard. I am heading home right now, and I am hopeful that my audio is working in the way that I want it to. I'm utilizing a lapel mic, and I want to get good audio. Generally, when I'm driving home or I'm driving to work, the audio is really bad, and I do not like that. So you won't be able to see anything, but we're going to have a quick discussion. Hopefully, you guys are having a good evening. And if you work today, I hope that you had a great day at work. I put up a post today, and the question of the day was if you were working a location and the post orders were that you were responsible for, control and security of that area within a certain perimeter. If you were to come upon a person that was dealing from a medical emergency that was clearly an overdose, what would you do? Especially if this person was just slightly off of property. And this is a situation that I deal with a lot here in Portland, where people are suffering from an overdose. And we have a property line that borders a major area where a lot of people are suffering from mental illness and drug addiction, and we deal with overdose all the time. So I asked that question. I said, if you have Narcan in your kit, you come upon this person, what would you do? Now, most of the people that answered, and we had a lot of response. I think that there might have been over 100 responses. One of the most recent questions of the day has like 157 responses. I don't know if that was this one or if it was a different one, but this one had a really good response rate as well. And so most of the people selected what I had down as the proper correct answer, which was to notify emergency services immediately. But a couple people actually commented, and they were like, you know what, I gotta be honest with you. One guy in particular was like, I gotta be honest with you, like, I don't agree with that. If I came upon somebody and they were in that situation, you know, preserving life is more important than the post. And one person said, like, I don't want to work for a company that would have an issue with me saving someone's life, even if it violated the post orders. And this thought process is something that I hear a lot. I hear it a lot on this channel. I hear it a lot on other people's channels. And even within the company that I work for, there's a lot of security guards that have this mentality. It can be something like dealing with someone that's overdosing, or it can be a situation like going hands-on in certain situations, certain levels of use of force. And every single person says the exact same thing. We've had this conversation on this channel before. Every single person says, I can't sit idly by and watch XYZ. Whether it's somebody that's commenting on the thread today, whether it's somebody that's commenting on a post that I've made over the last 3, almost 4 years, whether it's somebody that works within the company that I work for, that is something that I hear all the time. I just can't sit by and watch X, Y, and Z. So my point in making this video today is to just kind of reiterate that, guys, listen, you have your legal obligation while working security. You have your ethical obligations while working security. You have your moral obligations while working security. And then you have your post orders. And we talked about the difference between legal, ethical, moral, and policy. Now, I can tell you what is the most beneficial to you for your job. I cannot tell you morally what you should or what you shouldn't do. But I think that it's important for me to explain to you guys that in any situation when it comes to liability, and I know that for a lot of you that are listening, for a lot of people who are in this industry, the thought of liability, it doesn't matter to you. And I get that. I don't agree with it, but I understand that, like, that's a nuanced point that a lot of people just don't really care about. They don't give a shit. So that being said, you have to understand that in a situation where you're being viewed through the lens of the company that's paying your check, or the corporation that is contracting the company that has you hired, or the people that are on a jury that are deciding whether or not you go home or you go to jail, they aren't necessarily going to view things through your moral compass, your moral lens. The fact that you can't sit idly by and watch X, Y, and Z, or you can't stand somewhere and allow A, B, and C to happen, has no bearing on what the results are. And again, a lot of people, when we have this conversation, will say, I don't care. I'm going to be able to sleep better knowing that I did the right thing. Okay. Will your family be able to pay their mortgage? Will you be able to put food on the table? Will you be able to make that college tuition payment? Guys, listen, we're talking big boy shit here. Like when you're in your early 20s, when you're living at home with mom and dad and you're working a security job to get your feet wet in the industry, when you have a retirement and you're working security because it's just something to do, maybe that makes sense. Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe it does. But when this is your mode of supporting yourself and your mode of supporting your family, at some point in time, we have to start looking at things through the lens of bills. That is a very harsh conversation. Guys, I only say all of this to you guys because I've made this mistake. I've gotten myself in trouble before trying to do the morally right thing. I have gotten myself in trouble before trying to do the ethically right thing. And at the end of the day, the feeling that you have in your heart and your soul, it does not pay the bills. And it takes a level of maturity to be able to understand where that line is. Now, that line for me might be a situation that involves a child. Maybe I'm willing to risk it if it involves a kid. Am I willing to risk it if it involves a crackhead who's overdosing on fentanyl that he chose to smoke? I don't know. Maybe that's the line for you. Maybe the line for you is a clearly being abused in the domestic situation female. Is that line going to be worth it when you go to break up that fight and the female that you're trying to save stabs you with a pair of scissors? Because you do know that that often happens. Doing the morally right thing, the ethically right thing that violates the post orders that have been written for a specific reason, because all of the possible things that can go wrong and all of the possible things that do go wrong, those are the conversations that are had by the people that are signing the check and the people that are paying for their service. These things aren't written in a vacuum. And I know that they seem unnecessary. I know that they seem overly controlling. I know they seem extremely restrictive. But as security guards, we don't have the authority. We don't have the backing of the state. We don't have the qualified immunity. We're working a position to offer security, to offer oversight, to offer policy enforcement, but we don't have the authority of the law. So these corporations, these companies, these businesses, they sit down, attorney and attorney, and they write exactly what we can do based on the legal parameters of that area. So it's not a situation of the company not wanting to do what's right. It's not a situation of the company not wanting to provide proper service. It's not a situation of the company wanting you to be weak and only reaching out to the police officers. It's a legal obligation to stay within the bounds of the law so that both parties, your company and the contractor, don't end up in a lawsuit. Now, for you who's making $20 an hour, to you, you might think, I don't give a shit. I'm going to do what I want to do because it makes me feel better about the situation. But when you get cut from that $20 an hour job, you can go down to Taco Bell and make the same amount. To the owner of the security company, he might not be able to get another $5 million contract. To the corporate company that is employing your security company, they might not be able to withhold or withstand the hit financially that befalls their company and their shareholders because they end up in a situation that ends up on the news and ultimately in a major multi-million-dollar lawsuit. This is big boy shit, peeps. We're talking business. A lot of people are not looking at the business aspect of private security. We are not in law enforcement. We are not in the business of military. We are in the business of private enterprise, capitalism. And if you watch the live stream that we had on Thursday, Imani came on and said some very, very, very deep shit. Everything that he was talking about was about the money. We were talking about officers dating people that are a part of the contract. And he says, I tell everybody the same thing. You do whatever you want. You're a grown adult, but fuck up the money and see what happens. And I said, man, like, I haven't heard that. Like, most people are trying to find officers to work contracts. Most people are trying to find bodies. He says, I don't care. It's about the money. And you know what? He's right. It's about the money. And if you don't believe that, if you don't agree with that, if you can't work in that understanding, then you won't make any of it. Corporate contracts that pay $35 and up require you to be able to understand the scope of your work. Guys, listen, if you're going to work private military, hell, when I was in the actual military, there were standing post orders, standard operating procedures, rules of engagement. We're going into this country and under no circumstances are you to do anything unless. Well, Sarge, what if I see the person over here doing this to this female? Don't do anything unless. Well, Sarge, what do we do if we see them doing this over here? Don't do anything unless. You can't take it upon yourself when you're in Iraq to go rogue and do something that you think is morally right based on how you view it or how you see it. You can set off an international incident. You can set off a fucking war between multiple countries because you chose and took it upon yourself to do what you thought was right. Well, guess what, motherfucker? You're a private. You're a lance corporal. You don't have the authority to take it upon yourself to instigate an international incident because you think it's the right thing to do. And that's no different than working in private security. Start your own company, put your mortgage on the line, get your insurance, get your certification, your license, and then do whatever you want and take full responsibility for whatever it is that you do. But what you don't have the ability to do as an employee is tell a company or tell a corporation that what you morally think is the right thing to do supersedes their multi-million-dollar fucking contracts. That's not how it works in the real world. That's not how it works in the big boy world of business, guys. Now, you can believe me. You can take me at face value. Or you can say, you know what, Damien? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay, fine. Do it your way. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to help you guys. And there's a large contingency of people that just refuse to hear what I am telling you. I only know this shit because I've lived long enough to make a lot of mistakes. And anytime that I'm telling you guys anything, it's because I have fucked it up myself. I've got a master's degree in life from making mistakes. It's not because I'm smart. It's not because I'm awesome. I'm a dumbass who has somehow, by the grace of God, gotten to this point. But it's only because I've made mistakes, guys. And you could not tell me anything in my 20s. You could not get anything through to me in my early 30s. It's been the last couple of years that I've even been somewhat open and somewhat humble to listen to people who know what I do. And I don't want to see any of you guys who are in your 20s or any of you guys who are in your early 30s have to suffer and deal with the things that I have suffered and dealt with, because it is so wasteful. I have wasted so many good years of my life, guys. I've wasted them that I will never get back, money that I will never make, opportunities that I knew what the fuck they're talking about. But I am a believer in free will. I'm pro-choice. You do whatever you want, okay? Whoo! Man, I tell you, this last week has just been, I guess I've been holding a lot of this stuff on my chest. You know what I mean? Like, I feel very passionate about these topics that we're talking about. I'm not upset. I'm passionate. I feel a burning fire inside of me to help push this industry forward. And it's only because I care. And a lot of times I try to hold this level of conversation back. Damn ambulance coming through here. Stand by. A lot of times I try to hold this ranting guy. But this is how I feel on this path. We're going to go ahead and get off here, guys. All right. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that the audio was better. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Be great.